did just under 5 million last year. We got about 50 team members throughout all the locations. I remember we did our first $500,000 month. Insane, right? And I said, guys, if we hit our goal, I'm buying a full body freaking massage chair. We're putting it in the break room. And so it's back there. It's back there, and they use it every morning.
What's going on, guys? I'm here today with Pat Clark out of Greenville, South Carolina. So Pat actually started Precision Pro Wash in South Carolina at the age of 20 back in 2006 and has since grown the business. He started Gutter Butter, which basically provides products to the exterior cleaning industry. And he's also founded Sales Boost in 2018 to also help people in this industry. So super awesome to have you on today, Pat.
Dude, thanks for having me, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, what I would like to dive into, just to kind of establish credibility, show people why they should listen for this next hour. Do you mind just sharing with us what companies you're a part of, what the value of those companies are, or just like the annual revenue, and also just how many team members you're working with across all those companies?
Yeah, so starting with Precision Brand, right? We did just under 5 million last year. And so we got about 50 team members throughout all the locations. I was just out in Seattle, Washington at one of them last week. So we were doing some coaching there. And then Gutter Butter, my kids. So we started that company for my kids. It's been doing great. We were actually able to fully fund their Roth IRAs for like the last 5 years doing it, which is amazing. They get paid a little bit as well. So we got this, spend folder, we got a give folder, and then we got a save folder for them. And they do like the envelope system, right? So that's just been an amazing thing to help contractors as well in the industry, what products to use, good products that like have results, plus the support, right? And then Sales Boost. So Sales Boost has been blowing up. Super pumped about that. Last year, we really went all out and had Tommy Mello speaking there. This year, we have so many more. Michael Gregory, I think we have what we call the Avengers, right? Speakers. And so we did really, really well with that last year. So Sales Boost is part of it, right? And then I did Sales Boost on site. I went to 13 businesses. So it's about 10 grand for 2 days. And I went out to 13 companies last year and really helped with systems, implementing the sales system, going and doing sales for them. One guy, I actually sold 14K while I was there. So he's like, it cost you to come out here. You know what I mean? At that point. So it was a lot of fun though, going in, seeing what they're doing, seeing what they're not doing. And so that's really been my passion, right? So your why changes. And so Precision was it. And then it turned into, mentoring, coaching, as far as that goes. And then I was coaching through Conquer. As you know, Conquer has a lot of clients there. And so Brandon started that, and I was right there from the very beginning. I coached professionally for 4.5 years. And then I stopped in January last year because we're working on something really big. Actually, I'm probably going to announce it on this podcast. You can see right behind me right here what we got working on. But we're actually going to be starting a whole new brand in franchising. So that's the new exciting thing. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But it's just been an amazing ride, man.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I definitely want to talk a bit more about you and your route of expansion. But for starters, I'd like to just backtrack a bit and talk a bit about when you first started the company. That was back in 2006, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Can you tell me just a bit about that story and how you got started with it?
Man, yeah. So it was more out of necessity, if you will, right? 20 years old, first kid on the way. I was working for a builder. And as you know, the economy started going real bad, 2007 into 8. But 2006, man, I was like, I got to do something, right? And I was working for the builder, and things started going downhill as far as work goes. And so I started mobile auto detailing. And I had a 1500 Dodge Ram truck. And by the way, we bought 2 vehicles. I bought one for my wife, and that was the biggest mistake ever, going in and buying 2 brand new trucks, really, a car and a truck. And we were upside down in those vehicles. But the truck was good because it was silver. It had the nice wheels. I put a water tank in the back, and I started off mobile auto detailing in the back of the truck, going to, realtor offices and, our printing company actually that still uses us today, which is crazy. We were just talking about that the other day. He's been with us forever. But Yeah, I started that. And then people were like, hey, could you wash my house? And I said, yeah, but I didn't know anything about business, right? 20 years old, didn't know anything about business, but I could wash a house. I could wash a car. Like I can make a customer happy, but I didn't know tracking. I didn't know marketing, right? I remember like I was going to put out 500 flyers. And I'm like, dude, we're going to get so many calls. I don't even know how we're going to be able to keep up with the business, right? And it was crickets. And you don't know what you don't know. And so I was just out there grinding, right? Like beating my head up against the wall. And that was really for the first 4 years. So from 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And then in 2010, I hired AC Lockyer out of Florida. You guys all know him from Soft Wash Systems. And so back he was doing consulting, and it was me and 4 other guys that like did it. He was at an event, and I was just sick of it, dude. 2010, I was going to kind of like throw in the towel, if you will. I slept in my minivan. I had a 1995 Astro van living in an apartment complex, right? Went to an event in Charleston, South Carolina. And literally, I told my wife, I'm like, we got to go to this. Like, you know what I mean? We need to grow. We need to figure this out. And so we slept in the van, put a mattress in the back of the van, and went to the event, man, 2-day event. And it changed my life. You know, I learned about roof cleaning. I'm like, what the heck? And back in the day, it was a full contact sport, is what they said. Like, you got to get up on the roof, you got to low pressure wash the roof, like slow. And I'm like, holy cow, dude. Like, I was afraid of heights. My first roof, I told my wife, I'm like, call the fire department. I'm like, I was done. I was like, I'm stuck up on the roof. But you do what you have to do. Like, that's where that grit, right? Like, that's where the business and the things where you're comfortable, it doesn't exist anymore in business, right? Like, you figure it out, you make it work. And so that's what we had to do. And we were young, and, I was like, I got to make this work. This is all I know. And so I hired AC in 2010. He taught me systems. He taught me marketing, right? Accountability. And yeah, dude, everything he said, I put the rubber to the freaking road. And he told me, he's like, dude, it's like Jesus Christ is strapped to your back, right? I'm following the systems. I'm learning marketing. I started reading books. I never read a book. You know what I mean? I burned those things in high school. But now it's like, that's an entrepreneur's like go-to. And so started reading up and executing, man, like putting my nose to the grind.
Awesome. So would you say when you went to that event, was that like the turning point for your business?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because that's where I learned about roof cleaning, and roof cleaning is our top sell principle, right? Like, that's our most expensive, most profitable service that we offer. But yeah, meeting other people that were just in the same spot as me, like I wasn't alone, right? And then not only that, it was casting the vision to my wife, right? When she saw that and she saw the community and like how big this can be, she was like, all right, I'm in. And now I'm like, dude, when your wife's behind you and she's all for it, and you're like, we need to do this, we need to buy this truck. She's like, all right, we don't have any money, but I think we can make it work. And when she's behind you and that driving force, dude, like all you want to do is make your wife happy, right? Make your wife or your girlfriend happy. Like, that's what we do as men, right? And so, and provide for our family. And that's where it was. And the rest is kind of history, man, like working hard. There was a few more pivotal points we'll probably get into later on, like the key hiring points that I had to hire and learn and change as an entrepreneur, right? Business owner. I was never a manager before. I was never, a coach before. And I had to learn all that and shape me. And whenever I changed at my different plateaus, like my company changed. And it was incredible to see. And that's where I love giving back, because you name it, man, I've been through it. I've been dragged through the mud. I've had team members, you know what I mean? Employees. I got all the stories. I got them.
Awesome. I really like that one thing you just said. And we're huge on this as well, is if you want to become a six-figure business owner, first you need to become a six-figure human being. Same thing if you want to become a seven-figure business owner, eight-figure business owner. You need to level up as a person in order to be able to achieve that. So it sounds like all of those benchmarks you hit, it was because you first leveled up and then the business followed, right?
That's exactly right. Yep. Because the business is only as good as you, right? You are the business at that point, and then you're just there hiring key players to make it and step it up. And I always tell people, like the people who get you to $500,000 aren't the people who are going to get you to $1 million, and vice versa to 10 million, right? You got to level your team up. You can only afford so much talent in the very beginning, and then you just keep leveling up, right? And as you improve your sales and you raise your prices a little bit. We're in this thing right now where contractors are like, raise your prices, just raise your prices. Dude, that's great and all, but guess what? If you don't have a sales system, you don't look the part, you don't have a sales track, roadmap, you don't have a customer roadmap, that doesn't mean crap, because guess what? The competition is doing the same exact thing you're doing. You're a nice guy. You got a uniform. You might have a wrap truck, right? You might have the insurance. Well, what else, right? How are you really stepping it up? And so this day and age, like this year, we're going to see a lot of that, right? Where we got to step it up as that entrepreneur, as that company, to really show, because contractors have a bad name. That's the reality, right? And they're like, it's pressure washing contractor. Just need to get my house washed. That's not it. That's not us, right? And you have to portray, and you got to value stack that, then raise your prices.
For sure. So let's dive into that a little bit. Let's say the guy that has a nice polo shirt, speaks very well, has a nice wrap truck. He thinks he really stands out from the competition. What else can he be doing to be able to charge, a premium price and actually stand out?
Yeah. So like I said, right, it's the company. You want to sell on your team because you're only one guy. The customer doesn't care if you're a nice guy. Who's coming to my house, right? So next thing is you can have Ask the Seal or The Seal with Ed Marchicelli, right? Step up your presence. What I mean by that is like dot your I's, cross your T's. So have a badge, have a uniform badge, have a 7-year background check on who's coming to your house, right? But not only that, sell on your training. You need to have 40 hours minimum, right, of training for these guys to go out there. Now, there's some people might say, well, I'm the owner, you know what I mean? Like nobody can clean better than me. I'm sorry, man, but that's a hard place to be because it's only you, right? Now, if you're out cleaning, and we've seen this, right? We see this a lot where the owner's cleaning. Well, guess what? He's not following up. He's not creating the customer service. It's a one and done. And he's like, I'm too busy, right? And so as a larger company, as you're getting into an office manager, and speaking of that, we grew 20% because I put an office manager in place. When it was me answering the phones, when it was me, going out and doing the sales, and I had one truck running, that was great. I felt like I was on top of the world because I can go to the pool, I can hang out with my kids, but guess what I'm not doing, right? All the things. And so what we did was we put an office manager in place, grew 20%, and then everybody got a job description, even myself, because the entrepreneur or business owner needs a job description. Because how many times do you come in the office and you're like, shoot, crews are out working, sales guys are going, what do I do? Right? And then that reality kicks in. You're like, crap, I'm at that plateau. I don't know what to do. I don't know what my job is. Then they're like, squirrel. They're like, let's go start a concrete coatings company. Squirrel, let's go start, right? No, stay in your lane a little bit, right? And so with that being said, with that person, right, start working on your sales. Ask your customers, right? Do little things where, hey, you can do a survey and say, hey, Mrs. Smith, why did you choose us? Oh, it was 5-star review. Oh, it was the highest reviews out of everybody on Google. Okay, let's put more money into that, right? How can I get more reviews? And then you can say it was the closing trail where you walk through everything. You hit on all the points. You used a tablet, right? You had pictures, you had video, you had testimonials. You not only had testimonials, but you had testimonials on, for here, we have Michelin, we have BMW, right? So all those people that we do work for, we have specific testimonials, because if I walk in and I find the 5 things that I'm going to talk to that customer about, and it might be his car, it might be a BMW, it might be a BMW flag or a Michelin. I was like, hey, by the way, do you work at Michelin? Yeah, actually, I'm the VP. Really? Well, I got a bunch of testimonials from a bunch of guys from Michelin. Would you, I know you don't know what we do, but I want to earn your business, right? Here's some testimonials for coworkers. Dude, that thing's sold before I even get out of the house, right? So what are they doing to step up their game? Are they looking at the systems? Are they doing videos? Are they pouring into their team so they can build this thing, right? And be profitable. I always say you got to be mean and green, right? So you got to be profitable too. And if you just keep hiring people, it's expensive, So that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, that's super valuable. And the great thing is 99% of people are not doing these things. So if you just do all of these things, you're already going to stand out from the competition immediately.
That's it. It blows my mind. Like we think they're doing that, but they're not. Like it's easy to go the comfortable route. Like go do the job, get the check, put it in the bank. But follow up is uncomfortable. Now I got to call the customer. Oh shoot, what if I messed up? How you got to make it right no matter what. We're all only human. Like we're gonna mess up. That's okay. I tell people that all the time when they're growing and they're hiring technicians. They're like, nobody's gonna do it as me. I got my high, my quality, my integrity up here. I'm like, yeah, but you as the company, how are you gonna take care of it? That's what matters. Because I have a story, dude. I did a subdivision and I think we did at least 65 homes in the subdivision and it started drying up. And I'm like, dude, there's probably 300 homes in this thing. I'm like, why is it drying up? We got yard signs. You drive down this subdivision. I'll never forget. I was so proud of my team. Yard sign, yard sign. It was like every freaking house. And I'm like, this is awesome. But it started drying up. So I told my guys one day and I said, look, guys, before you wrap up, I want you to spray the back windows, but don't rinse them. I want them to be streaked. And they're like, wait, what? What did you just say? I'm like, don't rinse the windows. I want to show you. I got the window cleaning truck ready to go. I'm going to go out there and clean the windows because I want to show this, right? It was like an experiment. And this is cool things you can do when you have teams and you got more things. You can experiment. And so I did a little experiment and I did that, right? She called back. She was so pissed. And we were ready for it. My whole office was ready for it. My office lady, and I was there. And she's like, mad about the windows. You guys did all these houses. You crapped on my house. So I got on the phone. I'm like, tell me what's going on. And you ever hear the tone scale where you have to meet them where they're at? So customers yelling, if I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, they're going to walk right over you. You got to say, ma'am, and you got to meet them at their tone so they can hear you. It's crazy the way this works. So I, express my concern and I said, ma'am, are you serious? I said, that's it. These guys, we don't, our standard's very high. They're fired, right? I started getting pissed at the guys with her. And she's like, wait. No. They were really, really good. They were so nice. They showed up on time. Boom, boom, boom. I don't want to get them fired, but my windows look like crap. And I said, you know what? I'm going to come out there as the owner. I'm going to come out there and make it right. I'm so sorry. We're going to fix it right away. I said, I'll be out there tomorrow morning. And it was like the end of the day, right? She's like, are you serious? I said, yes. I was already ready to go. So you always hear like bad spreads faster than good, right? And so sure enough, guess what? We got the ball rolling again. So she was like, they crapped on my windows, put it on Facebook and everything. But guess what? I was out there that next morning. I fixed it. And we gave her a $25 coupon, right? In the name of good customer service to Outback or whatever it was. And cleaned her windows. And boom, dude, we started getting leads again right after that. Because now she's posting pictures, right? I'm like, just do me a favor. I said, this isn't our quality. I said, but this is what every house looks like. And then boom. So it's a little thing like that. Don't be afraid. If your guys give you 85% out in the field, that's fine. You're going to make up the additional as a company, right? And that's what it's all about. We're only human. People will make mistakes. Your guys are going to get tired at the end of the day. It's okay, right? You got to let go because some owners, they're like, nope, I can't let go. It's my name, but it's all in training. If I can give anybody huge tips is we train every single day in our morning huddles.
That's a hilarious story. It takes balls, so I can't imagine it'd probably be a good idea for people to go out and do that. But that is exactly how they should react when it does happen. I feel like a lot of people will just avoid the phone calls, the texts, and never speak with that customer again and hope that, it just blows over. But if you handle it exactly as you did, like you said, you can get so much more work from it just because of how appreciative they are of you.
And that's it. Yeah.
That's hilarious. But that's awesome. I'm glad it turned out well though. It could have definitely gone either way.
It could have went the other way. It could have, for sure. We were prepared though.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But it's cool. So and exactly like you said, you're prepared. It's important to have those type of things ready to go because exactly like I said, it would be so easy to just not answer the call, ignore them, and who knows what that could do to your business. But if you can turn bad press into good press, then like you said, I can't imagine how much more work you guys got out of that instead of just getting nothing at all.
Yes.
Cool. So let's backtrack a little bit. I know What year was it that you guys first opened up your second location?
Dude, so I want to say, so time runs together for me, so please forgive me, but I want to say it was 2013 was the Charlotte branch, and I learned a lot. It was 2013 because we did the hotel. We did a 12-story Marriott in 2012. And right after that, they were like, "What are you doing?" And my brother-in-law was like, "Dude, we need to show." We were already doing roof cleaning actually in Charlotte for Harris Teeter. We were doing the flat TPO roofs.
Mm,
And so it was a no-brainer just to go up there and start. We started Mint Hill location.
gotcha. Okay. So is it more, it wasn't really, I want to expand, where should we go into? Is more so we have the work here. Let's just keep building on that.
Correct. Yep. And it was tough though, because I'll tell you what, I learned a lot. It was too far away because we had to close it down 3 years later. So I learned a lot about that location. Even my management style, right? Like being so far away, but we had work up there. So it was all ready to go. I think the first year we did like 175 without me being there, just the systems and him learning. And then the second year I came in about mid-year and started really helping and coaching. And that's where I really I didn't know I needed to coach, right? It was like one of those things that you just learn. And so we had to put a lot more systems in play. I had to write more SOPs, more for the vehicle, the maintenance, the check logs, inventory. He was giving bonuses. And so it was good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was going. It wasn't profitable. In the first 2 years, third year, we started seeing a decent profit. We were like around 20%. And so it was tough though. I mean, I had to go up there, and when I was up there, Greenville would dip down a little bit. And I was on this teeter totter, right? And so I was up in a hotel for 3 days a week up there, and it would do great. And then when I was down here, it would do great. And when I wasn't, it wasn't, right? So it
Mm,
was like when the cat's away, the mice will play type deal. So I had to really tighten it up, and I had to run a tight ship. And that's where we started the morning huddles, lead tech leadership on Wednesdays. And then we started training, you know what I mean? Daily. We would go right out here on the pad. We would start training, going over the truck. We would do full inspections every Friday to make sure all the inventory was there. We started color coding trucks. So it was a lot to take on, but it was a huge learning lesson for that. But it was all good, all good.
So in the third year, once you started to turn a profit, why'd you guys end up just discontinuing that location?
Yeah, so we started unfortunately hiring the wrong people. And there was a lot of it. So it was my brother-in-law, and some things had rised. It didn't really work out. And I said, okay, you got to meet these things, right? And unfortunately, he wasn't able to meet those goals. So we had to just close it down at that point because there was no way that I can go up there and run that and run this. It wasn't, it wouldn't be good for my family. So we just had to look at it and say, we're going to pull out of the Charlotte market right now, and we'll come back to it later on. We learned a lot about the market though while we were up there. It was definitely a challenging market to get into. We had some hurdles to come over, but like I said, it was working good. I think we got up to like 380, something like that, the third year, somewhere in there. So it was decent, but yeah, we had the wrong people in the wrong seats up there, and the management just wasn't there. And so we had to let everybody go up there.
Gotcha. Okay. So you had the second location. It went pretty well, but not the success that you were hoping out of it. A lot of people at that point would have just been discouraged, but you ended up opening up another location pretty soon afterwards, right?
Yeah. I want to say it was actually New York location. So my best friend came down. He actually grew up in the trailer park with me. We back in the day, me and him used to cut lawns and stuff in the trailer park. And so he was a hustler, and he came down and worked for me for probably 2 months. We had huge apartments out in Mobile, Alabama, and him and one of my top lead techs were out there cleaning, and he loved it. He fell in love with the exterior cleaning, and I was like, dude, you need to start a location up in New York. And so he was like, how do we do it? And so we just got him set up. He actually, with my first truck, set him up there, and he's been crushing it ever since. He loves it, man. He works 8 months out of the year, and then he travels the rest of the year. I think he's out skiing right now in Colorado.
That's awesome. And that's a location you're still running to this day?
Yep. Yep. So I think we're at 9 right now. 9 locations.
Wow. Okay. And is it kind of a similar scenario with each of those locations where it's someone you've already known and trusted that you decided to branch out with, or is it sometimes new
No. So
partnership?
every situation's a little different. So they may have went to Sales Boost and saw some of the training and they were interested. So for instance, our Asheville, North Carolina branch, he hired me to clean a steeple in Anderson, South Carolina. He called me. He's like, Pat, he's like, I seen your company. And, we had this other guy lined up and he was lined up for a couple of months. And then he backed out at the last minute. We need to get this done. We got a service. I forget, it was for a church and it was a steeple. And so I went out there. I said, dude, heaven and earth, we're going to move it, right? We're going to get this thing done for you. And so we had the lift company, which we had a great relationship with. And this is why you got to have really good vendors too, right? Build those relationships. Because he was like, Pat, I don't have anything right now, but I'll have somebody drive it up from Columbia. So they drove the lift up from Columbia, got it there, and then I had 2 trucks come out. And so Ben was just blown away how we kind of like pulled this whole project together. And he was like, is this, what's going on here? And I was like, dude, we're hiring sales guys. We need sales guys right now. And so he ended up coming to work for me for a whole year doing sales. So he learned the whole system and he is a stud, dude, like business savvy. He had his head on right. And I'm like, you need to run a location. And same thing, it was in Asheville. We were already getting work there. And so it was a no brainer to, go up there. I think we were only doing like 60,000 in work or whatever, but I was like, that's a great jump start to start a business up there. So he ended up moving his whole family up to Asheville and absolutely crushing it. Like 300,000 his first year, like 550 his second year. I think this year he was close to $1 million. So he's in Asheville, it's a small territory, but yeah, he crushed it. He started putting the people in place. He didn't clean anything his first year. He hired 2 guys. I helped him hire the 2 guys, helped him hire the sales team. They came down to what I call corporate here, and then we trained them all. And all he did was manage right out the gate. So every situation I would say is like a little different. Like for instance, the Seattle, Washington branch, the only reason he reached out to me was I was selling one of my work trucks, and he's like, dude, like, what do you got going on here? And I was actually in Seattle, Washington doing coaching. I was doing a Sales Boost on site. And I called him. I said, hey, I'm out in Seattle. Do you want to go to lunch? And he like messaged his uncle and he's like, that's a scam. Don't go. It's a scam. You know what I mean? It was like weird. Like he's calling me in South Carolina. Why am I out all the way over here? And he came to lunch and we hit it off and he saw what we had going on. And he's like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. And he's never cleaned anything. He came from the security industry and then branched off, wanted to do his own thing and provide for his family. And he's absolutely crushing it. If you saw some of the videos on my YouTube or Facebook from that out there, he's been doing good.
And so I know it can get very tricky when
Mm-hmm.
expanding and bringing on new people to basically operate a location on their own, because if you choose the wrong person, I mean, it can create a bad image for your business. So have you
Yeah.
had any bad experiences like that?
No. So we kind of go through a vetting process, right? Like you can't just have money and be a part of the brand, right? There's got to be core beliefs there. There's got to be, stable foundation. So we look at everything. And usually what I'll do is I'll have them go out to lunch with me, go out to dinner with me, and I will bring their spouse because their spouse won't lie and they'll show you everything, right? So you really got to get to know those people on a personal level. So we go through a whole kind of vetting process, if you will. Now, there's no perfect owner manager, right? You don't know. It could be, somebody talks the talk and they definitely can't walk the walk. And so, as long as they're willing to follow a system, like we've really got dialed in our system over the years, as long as they're willing to take the system and run with it, it's ultimately on them, right? So they get a stake in this thing. And it's ultimately on them at the end of the day, right? They have the brand. They got to, get good reviews. They got to have all that stuff, or we could, pull the brand. And so it's ultimately, like I said, on them to do it. And everybody we've had so far, and that's why we're growing slower, right? We could obviously grow a lot faster. I don't want to do that. We have a good training and vetting process where they'll come out, they can train here, they can have their team train here. And, we just have that standard that we put out there.
And so when do you know when to expand? Or maybe a better question is, are you going out looking for these opportunities or are they kind of just arising?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. Like we weren't it was growing organically. I wasn't going out and promoting it at all. It was really growing organically, if you will, through the trainings and through giving back to the community, right? Speaking at events, they're like, what do you got going on? And I would explain it. If it was a good fit, great. If it wasn't, no big deal. And so they were kind of just coming organically. But for us, it was like Greenville was growing leaps and bounds. And we were at that, 1.4 million. And that's where my time, like I built the team and we had it running by itself and it was running smooth, right? I can go travel the country, which we did for 30 days in the schoolie, right? In the school bus, and took the whole family out. And at that point, it's like, okay, I have some time, right? Now I can invest in other things. And I wanted to empower entrepreneurs. That was the goal, right? Is like my why used to be, oh, make $1 million, right? That's great and all, but that's not it. That's definitely not it, right? There's a big purpose. And so I got this fire, I guess you'd say, in me of like really helping people and speaking to my past self because I, grew up, in the trailer park. None of my family really went to college at all. It was just not a good situation. I was like, all right, well, I gotta do something, right? And I had that go cut lawns, go do, woodwork, clean deck, whatever it may be. And so I knew there's something bigger out there. And so for those people that are like, yeah, I want to go start my own business, but don't know how, or it might be a contractor that's, cleaning and they're stuck at $200,000, $300,000, but want to go to $800,000. That's where I can really help with bolting on those systems and helping them do that with a national brand, which is cool. And so that's the exciting part, right? And that's how that would come on. And it was growing and growing. And so, as you know, with Bright Brothers actually right behind me, right here. So we're switching over. We're actually changing up the brand. That logo for Precision Pro Wash, my wife designed it, right? So that's all we had. I couldn't afford to do a branding company. I couldn't afford to do those things. And it was a good logo, like really good. It took us to here. And so now we're expanding. We're actually turning it into a franchise. So we have more support, more help. And so it's going to be awesome. It really is. I'm super excited about it to bring entrepreneurs to the next level, right?
For sure. Yeah, I definitely want to dive into that a little bit more in just a second. But first, I had a question I want to get your feedback on.
Yeah.
But let's say hypothetically, someone, they want to expand their business, they want to open up another location, but they're not sure if it's the right time. How should they determine when it's the right time to expand?
So I would do a little bit of market research. So for instance, here in Greenville, right, we have Anderson and Seneca. Now we were driving an hour. So if you're going to start another location, make sure it's within an hour. You got to be able to drive to it that same day. So if you got anything going on, you got a fire or whatever, have your safety stuff in place, right? So that next location needs to be another, a dual LLC, just in case anything happens. Somebody fell off a roof or, God forbid something happened. I would set that up. You can talk to your, accountant and your legal team on that, but I would keep it within an hour of your initial shop. And then I would put one of your top guys down. If you had a, assistant ops manager that wants to start his own location, it's a great way to sell the vision, right? Be a part of my team, grow, and then let me help you start your own location and then give him part of the company. Give him a percentage, right? So he has buy-in. And so with that being said, when you grow your first location, and it depends on the market, right? Like where you want to go. What's your why? So everybody, I always say you got to get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it. What that means is your family on board? Do you have young kids? Do you want to, go to the basketball games? Do you want to do that every day? Because if you're going to start a second location, you might not. You got to do some sacrifice, right? To build it up. Or you just put somebody in place. But with that being said, with your first location, you know what I mean? Like you really want it to wherever you want it, 800 to $1 million running smooth without you. Like if you can go away for 30 days and that thing doesn't turn into a whole complete shit show, you got some time now. Now you can invest your time in that second location, put somebody down there doing sales, getting the revenue where your initial crews can handle that business, build it up a little bit. So for instance, in Seneca, we do like $350,000 down there, but we drive an hour to do it. And I'm like, that's way too much windshield time. Then you need to really, calculate the cost. Well, if you're doing windshield time, are you paying for drive time? Are you paying hourly, right? What does that cost over a week for driving an hour back? That's 2 hours of drive time. That means there's, basically 2 hours short of 8 hours, right? So you're not going into overtime. So you got to like calculate everything and say, ooh, it makes sense to go start another location, because then you don't have overtime. Then you don't have that, right? You don't have drive time. And so you just reverse engineer the numbers, and you literally can go back, and people don't do this, but you have to do this. So take your numbers from last year and go plug in a couple more technicians, right? So say you did $60,000 in a month, plug in an office manager. Okay. What did that cost you, right? How much did your revenue drop? What did the budget numbers look like on a percentage? Can you afford that payroll? So you can go and forecast all you want. You can play with the numbers. And what if you went up a little bit more? What if you added another truck, right? And then you can start having fun with this and spreadsheet that stuff. That's where really helps, because you don't know, you're blind. Now, if you're, on a cruise ship, you're looking at coordinates, you're looking at all that stuff. You need to know where the heck you're going, or you just think you're hitting your goals. I feel like, right? And business owners do that a lot. Is like, oh, I feel like we're doing good. But in reality, you know what I mean? You just spent freaking $30,000 on a new truck. You just bought a new skid. You're actually netting negative 5%. You know what I mean? And so we got to look at those kinds of things and then reverse engineer it. That way it makes sense to make that leap, right? Because I've seen it where guys, they go too far and it just doesn't work out, right? And then their initial branch suffers because that leader's not there and they never replaced them. And they didn't realize how much they were actually really running things.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is, before anyone should even consider opening another location, their first location should be not just operating, but actually growing on its own without really eating up much of their time.
Yes, because the second location will take all its time, and then the first one's going to go down.
For sure. And that's kind of what you experienced, right? When you tried it?
1,000%. Yep.
Gotcha. So let's say someone is in the scenario where the business is running on its own, doesn't take up much of their time. They have an operator they can plug into a certain location and start building that up. What is the next step to actually build that up? Do they need, multiple technicians ready to go? Do they need an office manager, salesperson? Should they just be wearing all those hats initially so they're as involved in the business as possible? What would you recommend?
Yeah. So when we're building and we're expanding, so we build it to the model is what I call it. So you reverse engineer. So you got to print out. And what I do is I do this marketing/business plan. It's 8 foot by 4 foot, tall. And I do it at every location, and I reverse engineer the year. So say, you want to get to 3 trucks. Like our trucks are averaging, almost $400,000 right now, right? Per truck. And you can get that up, you can get it down depending on your season, 8 months, 10 months, 11 months, right? And so you want to figure out what your trucks can do, fully maxed out, right? Per truck. Because you don't want to buy a third truck when your 2 trucks aren't even fully maxed out. It doesn't make sense, right? So what you would do is reverse. So say you're making, we'll just general number out there. So say 30,000 per truck, right? So 30,000, that's $60,000 in a month. And then you figure out when your ebbs and flows are. So you go back and you reverse engineer your year from last year. July's always slow, right? People go on vacation. We know that. But the month before that and the month after that are big. Like here, we did 733,000 with 2 trucks last year. And so we reversed engineered this morning the whole marketing plan. So we're like, okay, you got to do $130,000 in June, right? So how are you going to do $133,000 if you can only do 60,000 with 2 trucks? You got to get another truck, right? And then you forecast, okay, get the other truck. How are you going to get the other truck? How many people is it going to be for that other truck, right? Are you doing 2 techs, 1 tech? What are you doing? And then what's the payroll on that? And then you start really mapping out, and it starts to make sense, right? When you start mapping it out, you're like, okay, now we have a plan. Now I know I need to run Indeed ads, right? To get the people on for that second truck or third truck, whatever it is. And then to meet those goals, but you have to reverse engineer it. So now you have your money goals. Now, if you're the owner, like, hey, I'm say you're doing sales, you're answering the phone, you need to get an admin, right? If I got an admin, I was doing $185,000 and I got an admin. It was the scariest thing in my life. I'm like, how are we going to afford an admin? But I knew we would grow. And I knew if I put myself in my sweet spot and I was out doing sales every day, we would grow. And so then I was like, I took my lead tech and I pulled him into sales because I couldn't get a sales guy. First sales guy is the hardest. What do you do? Well, we do pressure washing. How much money do you make? $130, 130,000 a year. No, they don't want to hear that crap. They're like, I want to sell $1 million, right? And I'm like, oh, well, nobody in our industry is doing that. Well, actually, now they are, right? Now they are. There's guys selling a lot of money. They're making $120,000 a year as a sales guy, right? So it's possible. You just have to make the system work. That's all. Make it work for you. It's not like, well, that system didn't work for me. That's not what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to take the system and make it work for you, period, right? There's no system that's going to work for you. You got to make it work. So with that being said, yes, you have to wear all the hats. You have to build the model and put those positions in place. And like for me, when I would go do a quote, they would have to go to an approval bin before it went to dispatch. And so I would approve my own ticket, even though I was the sales guy. Then when I got the second sales guy, I was approving his and mine before it went to dispatch, right? And then I had an approval checklist. And then after I built out 2-3 sales guys, then I had a sales manager, and then he started approving them. And the system was already there. And all you're doing is firing yourself out of a position. Because I don't want to work in there. I never had an office at my local branch. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to run on my own or on its own, right?
Yeah.
So that's the mentality. You got to run your business, as Josh Latimer would say, with no arms and no legs.
So when would you say is the best time to hire? Would you say it's to be proactive and hire based on future growth or predicted growth? Or would you say allow it to become a bottleneck and then when the necessity is there, then you hire?
So it all depends on the person, really. You know what I mean? I like to hire before because I plan for growth. I kind of like forecast it, so I know it's coming. And when you can do that and you can forecast and you know it's coming, it will happen, right? If you put the people in place, the money will come, period. That has been true and tried and true for me for many years. I remember losing everybody, dude. It was 2018. And my ops manager, Miguel, it was just me and him. We went from 14 staff members just right here at this one location to 3. You know what I mean? And I had to hire like 10 people within 3 weeks. It was nuts. But me and him did it. He trained, I trained, and we were like, we're in it to win it, right? Mm-hmm. So it takes that, that buy-in, but you do have to hire before, it becomes a bottleneck because you're going to miss out on business. If you hire when you're already, getting the business, you're like, wait, hold on. We don't have anybody. They're going to the next person, right? You got guys doing next day service, right? There you have 10 trucks on the road. They're doing next day service. So if you got 2-3 trucks and you're like, I can't hire, you're not getting that business, period. That's kind of the name of the game. So I would say, look at it. What can you afford? Put together a nice compensation plan for that person, and bring in talent, right? Bring in good talent and then start planning it out. But you have to reverse engineer the year to know what your monthly goals are, to know how many trucks, how many people you need. And there's a great app. I think it's called revenuebuddy.com. If you go to revenuebuddy.com, you can literally put it in, plug and play. It's already a spreadsheet and just play with it and have fun with it.
Nice. I haven't heard of that, but I'm sure that'll be a super helpful tool for a lot of the guys listening.
It's good. Check it out.
Yeah, I'll definitely personally check it out myself. But so with that being said, and I definitely agree with you. You should definitely be proactive. But just to emphasize what you were saying, if you don't know your numbers, you could be hiring the wrong person, the wrong time, and really just put yourself in the wrong position. But as long as you know your numbers and your projections are accurate and you're hiring proactively based on that, then it's basically a necessity if you want to continue growing.
Yeah. And it's okay to fail, right? Like I know for me, like I had to hire people. I never hired anybody before. And so I had to learn how to hire. I had to tweak my hiring system, right? Did I lose money sometimes? Yes, right? But I learned it's not losing money, right? It's investment. I'm investing in my company. It's just learning. So if you think about it like that, go hire. I hear some people all the time, I can't hire anybody. I don't have any money, or I don't know how. I don't have any systems to put in place. Just start. You know what I mean? Just start. Because sometimes we overthink it. Geniuses, they got the high IQs, but they overanalyze it, right? And then you see the guys, you meet business owners and you're like, dude, how are you a billionaire? Like, he's not very smart. He doesn't overthink it. He just makes it and does it and makes it happen, right? So sometimes you got to just do it, learn, and it's okay to fail. You have to be willing to fail because that's going to push you and push you further on.
It's super interesting because a lot of the successful guys that I've been interviewing, one of the biggest takeaways is you should fail forward. You should
Hmm.
be embracing failure. And it's really funny because a lot of the guys that are not succeeding to the extent they want to because they're trying to avoid failure. But
Yep.
someone in your shoes like yourself, you're probably even at this point in your business still excited to fail because you're probably going to learn from it and grow because of it.
That's exactly right. Yep. It's just bigger numbers now,
Yeah,
you know? So
it's the same failures at a larger scale.
it is. It is. Yep. So you just got to embrace it. And like you said, you got to have grit, and just trust the process, right? Because it's going to change you. You got to get uncomfortable. You got to have the hard conversations, and you got to be training.
For sure. And so you mentioned that at one point you had around 10 or so employees that I guess parted ways. Do you mind kind of talking a bit about that and just sharing what happened?
Yeah, dude. So I sucked as a leader. That's what it boiled down to, man. I wouldn't have the hard conversations. And so they would get burned out, and I had guys on, and they know your pinpoints. They're like kids, right? They know you need them. And that's what happened was we were so busy. We were doing the marketing. I was focusing on the sales, and I wasn't focusing on production. And so, I was still doing the morning huddles. I was like on them religiously about washing their trucks and, doing all that. And we weren't doing, I would say, the accountability. So we race the trucks dollar per hour on site. We do fun videos. We do fun things now, but we didn't have that culture, if you will. It was, you're coming in, you're breathing, good, let's go to work, right? I still was doing the ask the seal and background checks and stuff like that, but there wasn't that level of where, that management, if you will, right? That top tier management where you're really holding them to accountable. You're having the monthly meetings and seeing where they're at personally, right? And so a lot of things I was letting go. And I remember I came back, I was out of town. My wife was running the company. I'm out of town managing 2 apartment complexes, and she's back here managing the guy. The guys are walking all over. They're not coming in, 30 minutes late. The customers are calling, where are your guys at? Right. And I'm getting these calls back out of town, and I'm like 11 hours away, and I'm pissed, dude. I'm like, what the heck, man? And so I came back that night, and I'll never forget this. I literally went to the time clock right out here. I'm actually in the office. I have a studio now in my office, but I'm out here, and I blew up my air mattress, and I took a picture, and I said, I'm sleeping at the time clock. And I said, if you were 1 minute late, you're fired. And everybody was like, what the heck? Because they were just, they were taking advantage. And so sure enough, next morning, everybody was on time, and I had to lay into them because in the beginning, you want to be friends with your teammates, right? You call, employees, I call them teammates, but you want to be friends with them. That's our, like, we're the nice guy. We're the business owner. Like, we want job and work to be fun, right? And that's great, but you cannot be friends. Like, after 5 o'clock and you punched off and you guys want to go have a drink, or you want to go, whatever, that's fine. But, when you walk in the door, and we have the doors wrapped, right? And it's, we have this saying, it's this little thing called attitude that makes a big difference. And so their attitude, man, sucked. They were like, what's my paycheck? Customers are, nitpicking, and they were, not doing good work. And so we had this thing where I went out, and my wife went out, and my ops manager went out, and we would have binoculars. We were literally hiding in the bushes, dude, across the street, watching these guys. And now they have a thing. They're like, is Pat watching? Because I would send them pictures, you know what I mean? Or, like, for instance, we were doing a condo complex, and my lead tech, Ryan, had a friend that, like, friend's sister lived there, and she took a picture out the window, like, from inside out, to my guys working at this condo complex. And sure enough, all through all the people, and then got to me, I sent it to the lead tech, and I said, I'm always watching, ... And so I always have this thing of, like, accountability, right? We have, I wouldn't say competitors, but we have awesome guys that are in the same field as us that are like, dude, I saw your truck going down. Or, somebody I know, dude, that guy was flying down 85. So I'll message them like, hey, dude, what's going on here? You know what I mean? And they always know you're watching. So as that leader, mentor, you have to watch your team. You got to have GPSs on your vehicle. Check, are they turning hard? All the things. And then you got to speak on safety. because at the end of the day, we have too much at stake, right? You have, when we get into 50 plus employees, we have too much at stake. One guy can mess that up for everybody. And so you got to lean in on it. You got to have the hard conversations. And that's where I failed as a leader. And these guys were walking over me. They were like, well, they're late, but dude, they're crushing out $10,000, $12,000 in production each week. You're like, well, let it slide. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to be that guy out there doing it again. But the reality is, dude, that one bad apple will bring down your whole team. And that's what happened, man. Brought it down. And I had competitors that are like, dude, Pat trained them. I want them. So when you start getting good, they're going to try to steal your team members. But you want to train them so good and pay them even better that they don't want to leave. Because if you don't train them, it's a bad, bad recipe. You know what I mean? But people get afraid. And they're like, what if I train them and I teach them all this stuff and then they go start their own company? Yeah, but what if you don't and they stay?
That's an awesome story. I really like that you brought that up because so many guys that I speak to, one of their biggest issues in growing their business is, according to them, people don't want to work. All the people they hired, it's the same thing over and over again, and they're stuck literally for years because of the same issue that apparently people don't want to work. In reality, people are more than happy to work as long as they're sold on the culture, the vision, the core values. As long as they're sold on all these things and it's a good opportunity, they'd be more than happy to work. So
yes,
I think it's really important what you said about like having the incentives, having an opportunity where they actually want to show up and do great work. If you put more attention to that, that alone will probably, one, just increase your employee retention, but also have them start to do better work and grow the business for you.
yes. And especially if you have a roadmap. Like we have a roadmap for our team members to go own their own location. How cool is that? You know what I mean? Like that's what you want is like, come in, start here, right? Start friggin' throwing clip flyers. Start as a brand promoter, right? Work your way up to the truck, work your way to sales, work your way to management, and then own your own location. Let me help you do that. So that's what it's all about is you got to cast the vision and they got to be all in. And if they're not all in, that's great. Walmart's hiring, right? They're paying out like $20 an hour in some places, but the reality is they got to be all in. There's got to be a bigger purpose. And, people that are in corporate jobs now, they see that they want to work for a family owned company. So for people that are like, they don't want to work, you're advertising, right, to the wrong person. That's what that boils down to. Get some A players in there, tweak up your system, tweak up your message, and then build the freaking brand.
Absolutely. And that right there is a massive takeaway. If you have that roadmap built out so they can actually see the progression and where they can be in whatever the time frame is, then those days when they're tired, they don't feel like showing up for work. And if they didn't have that vision, then they just wouldn't have shown up or they would have half-assed the job. If they have that vision, then every day they'll be showing up to do their best work so they can get to that point. So having something like that in place is a cheat code.
It is. It really is. And, here's another one too, because when you get involved in your community, that's even more powerful, right? Because now they have a bigger purpose. So it's like impacting others, like helping schools, get the pencils and stuff like that, get the books, let the team do it, right? What do they want to do? And then coach them on their goals. So before, when I was a bad manager, I was like, dude, we got to hit the company's goals. We got to do this company, you know what I mean? And it's ultimately me. And they're like, dude, I don't care about your goals, right? I'm here to make a paycheck, clock in, clock out, I'm out, right? It's not their business. So realize that and then say, look, there's a great book called The Dream Manager, and you find out what their goals are. I had one guy wanted a $30,000 watch. That's not my goal. I don't want a $30,000 watch, but that was his goal. And so we just came around him and we said, okay, how are you going to get it? What does that look like? What does your check need to be? How much do you need to save for this watch? When do you want the watch, right? And then we said, print out your watch, bring it in tomorrow. We're putting it up on the dream board. And we had all the team put their dreams on the board. One guy wanted to buy a house. One guy wanted a car, right? And dude, we want to make that happen, tooth or nail, because they're the backbone of our business, period. And so that's what we did, man. I remember we did our first $500,000 a month. Insane, right? And I said, guys, if we hit our goal, I'm buying a full body freaking massage chair. We're putting it in the break room, right? And so it's back there, and they use it every morning, right? Then I had a chiropractor come in, for the team. Bring your spouse, right? So every once a month, they bring their spouse and they have the chiropractor do the thing. So now you're getting their spouse involved, right? Getting their family involved, because in that morning, when the guy's like, I don't want to go to work, I had too many beers last night, the wife is going to kick him out the bed and say, get your butt to work, because I want that bonus, or because I want to still get the chiropractor, whatever it may be, right? So think about how you can get everybody bought in.
And it's awesome to hear you say that, because that is literally what differentiates the guy doing $5 million per year in their business and the guy stuck at $50,000 per year. It's just the
Yeah.
fact that, yes, the money for the technician or the employee in general is super important, but
Mhm.
you know, the environment they're in a daily basis, I would argue, is far more important. Like, do they actually enjoy showing up to work every day, or are they, dragging themselves out of bed to come into work? And something like that, literally having a massage chair, probably having a team they love speaking with, and just knowing that there's tons of opportunities coming their way all the time. That's really what's going to drive people to want to show up and do great work every day.
Yeah. And you see it, you know what I mean? You see the fruit of that, because the team members leave reviews, right? Like, we get them involved in the video production. And that's what it's all about, right? Those standout things when they get the awesome review from the customer with their name in it, or they get that production bonus for the week, right? We promote those things. And then shoot, we have them do a video. And then they're like, all right, guys, I'm on the money train, baby. You ain't going to get me next week. And we post it in the thread. We have a company chat, right? That everybody can give fist bumps or the arm emoji, whatever it may be, right? But you have to have that kind of stuff, that support. That way it doesn't feel like they're just out, by themselves. They're not at the shop. They're out there alone making the money. They see the $2,000 coming in or whatever. And then they're like, dude, I'm getting paid $150 or $200 a day. And they're making, 3-4 grand in a day. They see it, but you have to be transparent. You have to let them know, like, it costs money, and you got to be transparent with your numbers and let them in on it. Teach them how to read a P&L, because nobody else does that. There's little things like that you can, like, let them know, because guess what? At the next family reunion, they're like, oh yeah, I know how to read a P&L. They're like, wait, what? Aren't you like a roof cleaner? Like, well, actually our company teaches us how to read a P&L, and we were up, last quarter 20%. And then they start talking numbers like that. Dude, that's what people want, right? You got to level them up every time. I want everybody that comes in, this part of our mission statement is, I want everybody that comes into our company leave better than they showed up. So if they leave, they're better than they showed up. If they stay, they're better, right? That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And hey, I know we only got a few minutes left here. I know you kind of did a soft announcement of the new thing you got going on, but you want to dive just a little deeper into it?
Yeah, so I'm super pumped about this. So it was crazy, man. I had a bunch of people reaching out to buy my business, right? And I don't want to sell. My mission was never to sell, because you hear, guys selling businesses and stuff, and that's great, but that's not what my mission was. I feel like I'm still here, right, on the earth, to a bigger purpose, if you will. And so we really want to empower entrepreneurs, and that's my goal. My why is to it's really to help underprivileged kids and entrepreneurs, right? Because that's what I was. I was an underprivileged kid. I grew up in the trailer park, no dad. And I want to help people like that, teach them business, and especially with entrepreneurs, all about it. And so Bright Brothers was born. I had a gentleman reach out to me, Larry Janeski, and you guys can look up Contractor Nation. And so anyway, he called me up and he was like, hey, man, I think we need to work together. And I was like, all right, well, he's like, come up here. I want to show you what we got going on. And dude, it's everything that I've been trying to do times 20. He's been doing it for a long time. He was the inventor of Clean Space, I guess it's the crawl space encapsulation system. So he owns a bunch of businesses. And so we partnered up and we said, let's take this thing and run with it. And so we formed Bright Brothers. Precision, was great, but we introduced holiday lights about 3 years ago. And so we wanted a brand that was exterior cleaning and holiday lights. And so Bright Brothers is all of that. It's exterior cleaning and holiday lights. And so we have an awesome brand. We clean it. We clean it with 3 E's. So you'll see that coming out here pretty soon. But it's amazing, man. We started the location in Connecticut. And I went up there and launched that branch. And within 2 months, we're at $35,000 a month, working 3 days a week and doing sales 3 days a week. So when you say, when do you grow, right? When do you grow and do that? You build it to the model, man. And we have the model. And so we have a call center. We have Brand Blaster. It's like we have Google in our back seat at our office. It's insane. And so we launched that brand up there. We're really excited. And so much to come. Our goal is 20 locations this year. And so we're gonna hit it hard, man. It's gonna be a blast.
Oh yeah. That sounds awesome. Like sounds like an awesome opportunity. So I'm really glad to hear you're definitely going against the grain a bit because that's not a very common thing in this industry. But
Yes.
again, back to your point about just want to impact as many people as possible, help them get started on the right foot. I think that it's an amazing thing what you're doing.
I appreciate it, man. And yeah, I think it's going to be really good. Like I said, we're going to bless a lot of entrepreneurs, right? And it's a great brand, a great model. We know it works. It's tried and true. And so it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be busy for me the first year. You're going to see me traveling all over like I am already, cross country and all that fun stuff. But it's worth it, right? Like we're going to put in the stuff now and just bless a lot of people with this. And that's the goal, man. Larry's been blessing contractors for a long time. It's really cool to come together with like-minded people and the power and the synergy. Like the team is so strong, dude, so strong. Like everybody's like high caliber. Our support center, insane. Like they know business, they know numbers. We got a guy that looks at probably 30 P&Ls once a month, right? That's on here. And it's just incredible to see it, to be able to pull the profit out and hold them accountable to it, right? To like helping them be profitable, right? Not just grow this thing. And so we have this whole thing of how to build it, when to grow, who you need to put in place, the whole 9 yards from start to finish. We have it. So it's business in a box with Bright Brothers.
Yeah. I mean, once you can do it once, you can do it twice. So you could do it 10, 20 times. You could just repeat the same process once you have that model down. So
That's
that's
it.
awesome. Well, cool, Pat. I appreciate you hopping on. For anyone watching today that wants to just learn a bit more about you and what you're doing, where could they learn a bit more about you?
Yeah, so you can go to patclark.com. That'll get you to my Facebook page, my YouTube. We also have a podcast called Community with Closers. We do that every Wednesday. And so, yeah, would love to, have you at least check it out. There's always good nuggets in there. And so definitely check it out, whether you're in the exterior cleaning industry, landscaping, tree, you name it. It's business building stuff. These are all principles that you can put in place, actionable items that you can take away, just like today. You know what I mean? Implement those things next week and see results. And so, love to see everybody, at Sales Boost, salesboostlive.com. Also, I'm going to be speaking at it. I just sold Sales Boost actually to JC. And so he's taking the reins with that because I got Bright Brothers. And so I sold that to him, and it's awesome how that's growing. And he's going to be bringing in so much impact there with salesboostlive.com. So register there if you want to take your sales to the next level. And like I said, like and subscribe to our channel and get some awesome nuggets, man. But Michael, really appreciate you, man, having me on. These are awesome opportunities to be on and meet you, right? I'll probably see you at some of these events coming up.
Yeah, no, and thank you for hopping on. I mean, this was super valuable. So I speak for everybody when I say thank you for joining today.
Yes, sir. My pleasure, man.